Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be looking at something that I have named the duplication argument against evolution. This is a common argument that is out there. I've just given it this name because it seems to take the form of a common skeptical argument. It's an argument that is put forward by creationists to show that evolution is not the case, or at least that creationism is kind of on the same level as evolution. It goes something like this. There are fossils which seem to be evidence for evolution. Either these fossils prove that evolution occurred, or God placed them there to test our faith. We cannot tell whether A or B is the case, therefore we should not accept evolution as fact. I think it's pretty likely that most people have encountered some version of this argument. What I'm going to do here is strengthen the argument a little bit, and then show the ridiculous conclusions that it will lead us to. So, possible world A, possible world B. Both worlds appear identical to the actual world from everyone's perspective. One world was created by natural forces, and life evolved naturally. The other world was created 6,000 years ago by God, and made it seem as if life evolved naturally. There is, in fact, no way to tell which world you are in. Therefore, the more refined argument would go like this. There exist at least two possible worlds that appear identical to the actual world, one in which creationism is the case, the other in which evolution is the case. There is nothing that would allow us to tell these two worlds apart. There is no evidence that would force us to accept evolution as fact. Now, of course, this argument can be run the other way, and show that there's no evidence that would force us to accept that creationism is fact, but the goal of the creationists in this case is to kind of get evolution on the same par with creationism, so that they might argue then that, we should teach them both in science classrooms. Now, what they're trying to give us a sense of is that it's about a 50-50 distinction. Either it was creationism or evolution. And these are the only possibilities out there. It has to be one of them, so which is more likely, and once they've gotten it on the same par, there's a lot of other tricks they can run with it. However, this seems problematic to me as a skeptic, because they've kind of stolen one of my favorite arguments, the duplication argument. So we're going to run it a little farther and see where it takes us. Now, sure, it does follow that there's some possible world that is identical to the actual world, but God created everything. There's another possible world where evolution is the case and life evolved naturally without a creator. However, there is some other world that appears identical to the actual world where there's an evil deceiver that created the world 15 minutes ago. All your memories are implanted. Everything you see is an illusion. There is another identical world that is exactly that. If we're teaching the first two worlds in science classrooms, we should be teaching this world as well, and teaching that possibility. Similarly, there's another world where you're a brain in a vat. In fact, there are only two things that exist in this world. You and an evil scientist. You are a brain in a vat, and he's manipulating your mind to make you believe that you are seeing things and experiencing things. There's also another world where you're in the Matrix. There's another world where the flying spaghetti monster is actually real, and got really excited when people started a satirical church around him. Remember, all of these worlds are perfectly identical to the actual world from our first-person perspective. We cannot tell them apart. This is just the underlying fabric, the actual metaphysical truths that underlie these worlds. There's another world where idealism is the case. The only things that exist are minds. Things that are not being observed do not exist. Not only does a tree that fall in the forest and no one hears it not make a sound, but the tree doesn't actually fall. It doesn't even exist if you're not taking a look at it. There's even a world where, in fact, you're actually the star of The Truman Show and you have no idea. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the movie. It's fantastic. The point is that there are not 1, 2, 3, 7, or 5 of these worlds. There are an infinite number. And there is no way for you to tell which world you are in. So if the creationists want to use the argument that it is possible that we are in a world where God implanted these fossils to make it seem like evolution is the case, they have to follow through with the full conclusion of that to say that it is possible that we are in any of these skeptical scenarios. Any of them are possible, and that they are all on equal footing with both the ideas of evolution and the ideas of creationism. If you're going to use the duplication argument, you gotta go all the way. So the final argument would look something like this. There are a near infinite number of possible worlds that look exactly like the actual world. There is no evidence that we can be given to tell which of these worlds we are in. If there is no evidence that can determine between many possibilities, in fact an infinite number of possibilities, we should suspend judgment on the truth value of any of these possibilities, and therefore fall into skepticism. In the end, clearly, we shouldn't be teaching either creationism or evolution in classrooms. We should be teaching skepticism. The duplication argument does not imply that religion is equal to science. It in fact implies that both of those are equal to a bunch of other really ridiculous possibilities. And it implies that we should be skeptical of both those possibilities and all those possible worlds. Watch this video and more at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.